In the time of the Messiah and the early church, Jewish society had developed many traditions and interpretations of the law of God that added to the original commandments given by Yahweh. One significant tradition was the belief that association with Gentiles or non-Jews rendered a Jew unclean. This belief was rooted in a desire to maintain purity as a people set apart by Yahweh, but it extended beyond what God's law, the Torah, prescribed. The Torah contains numerous laws aimed at preserving the holiness of the Israelites and distinguishing them from surrounding nations. For instance, the Israelites were commanded not to adopt the idolatrous practices of other nations. Deuteronomy chapter 12 verses 30 through 31. However, the Torah does not explicitly forbid social interaction with the Gentiles. Over time, Jewish leaders seeking to protect the community from potential contamination and assimilation imposed stricter rules. These included various fences around the Torah, or additional safeguards to ensure the laws were not broken. By the 1st century, these traditions had become deeply ingrained. For example, in the book of Mark, chapter 7, verses 1 through 13, Yahshua addresses the Pharisees and scribes who question him about his disciples not following the tradition of washing hands before eating. He criticizes them for elevating human traditions above the actual commandments of Yahweh, saying this: "You have let go of the commands of God and are holding on to human traditions." Mark chapter 7, verse 8. In the book of John, chapter 18, verse 28, when Yahshua is brought before Pilate, the Jewish leaders do not enter the Roman governor's palace to avoid uncleanliness before eating the Passover. This shows the extent of their efforts to avoid impurity by not entering a Gentile's home. In Acts chapter 10, verse 28, Peter in Cornelius' house says, "You are well aware that it is against our law for a Jew to associate with or visit a Gentile, but Yahweh has shown me that I shall not call anyone unclean or impure." This highlights the traditional view that contact with Gentiles was defiling. It was an added tradition. Rabbinic literature, including the Mishnah and the Talmud, contains numerous references to purity laws and interactions with Gentiles. For example, in Mishnah Oholat, chapter 18, verse 7, it reads, "Gentile lands were considered impure, and Jews were to avoid them to maintain purity." In Tosefta Ovadah Zarah, chapter 8, verse 5, warns against consuming food prepared by Gentiles to avoid idolatry and contamination. These traditions were not directly commanded in the Torah, but were developed as protective measures and essentially added to the law of God, and this created a burden for the people. Yahshua's ministry often challenged these human traditions. He challenged anything that went against the actual laws of God. He associated with tax collectors, Samaritans, and others deemed unclean or outcast, i.e. John chapter 4, verses 1 through 42. He emphasized that true impurity comes from within a person, their thoughts and actions, rather than from external contact. The book of Mark, chapter 7, verses 14 through 23. Peter's vision in Acts 10 is a critical turning point, reinforcing that Yahweh's acceptance extends to all people who fear him and do what is right, regardless of ethnic background. This revelation led to the inclusion of Gentiles in the early Israelite community, without requiring them to adhere to the Jewish purity laws, traditions of men. The tradition of considering Gentiles unclean was a human addition to the law of God and the commandments. It's intended to preserve Jewish identity and holiness. However, the Messiah emphasized that Yahweh's concern is with the heart and righteousness of individuals, not their ethnic or cultural background. In Ezekiel chapter 36, verses 26 through 27, "Moreover, I will give you a new heart. I will put a new spirit within you. I will remove the stony heart from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my Ruach, my spirit, within you. Then I will cause you to walk in my laws, so you will keep my rulings and do them." Does this sound familiar in your religion? Have you been taught that the laws of God have been done away with? Have you also been taught that the laws of God have been written in your heart? Let me ask you this. If the laws of God are written in your heart, then why is it not in your heart to do them? Return to the true instructions of Yahweh, the Bible, which also includes God's Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. After all, Messiah said to follow him. Shalom.